Having said that, Bill, we mentioned about Indiana, so let's get back and talking into a bit about sports, specifically Indiana, because this is now, and again, we're in Toronto, so we tend to focus on Toronto sports, so we'll just deal with that, because tonight you've got the NFL draft, and I think that's pretty amazing. We've got the lottery draft with the NHL coming up in a couple days, and I think this is a really, really great time for anybody who's into sports. You've got the Stanley Cup playoffs are now going into the second round. I mean, I don't know how much more you would want as a sports fan than what is going to be happening in the next few days. This is it. This is like, it's like a buffet. Pick whatever you want. So I'll just start off just by talking about the Raptors, and now it's going into Game 6, and I was shocked and stunned that they were able to come back in the fourth quarter. I couldn't believe, and I said this to you off there, when they talk about sports and how coaches don't play a factor in the game. I mean, I don't know how much more of a factor that the Indiana coach played in that game by resting some of his key players. Instead of just sticking, putting their feet on the throats of the Toronto Raptors, they let up. He let up, and then Dwayne Casey, who's probably been either outcoached or his team isn't playing up to their capability, he decided to do something different. And it's all about changes. It's all about, what are you going to do in football, like at halftime? What kind of changes are you going to make? It was an interesting change made by one coach who I think made a significant tactical error. Yeah. And it was another coach coming up with a tactic that worked. And at the end of the game there, Indiana almost tied it up. It was like a fraction of a second that he let that go. He shot and the time had expired. So I think there is so much, I think that's going to be happening going into Game 6 right now. I think the Raptors have momentum, but I have to think this game's going into Indiana. That's their home court.
Yep.
I have to feel that, in my opinion, that Indiana is going to win the game and it's going to go back to Toronto. And I think Toronto will have, that is it. Can they win a seventh game? Can they get into the next round? So we'll deal with just, instead of the Game 7, Game 6. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I think if the Raptors win, they will win because of Dwayne Casey and his perseverance with his personnel and his personnel selection. I like Dwayne Casey. I don't know how good that team is, although they walked into Indiana and beat them twice. So there's a good chance they could win this game on Friday night. I don't want them to have to come home and win. They don't play well in seventh games at the Air Canada Centre.